Hello, beautiful friends and book lovers. I hope that you're all doing well. Also, happy 2024. This is my first video that I am filming this year. Before we get into all the good stuff with the books, I do have some exciting news. If you've been here for a little bit and have seen any of my recent videos, I have been pregnant with our second child and she has made her arrival. So I'll put a little picture here for you to see. We ended up naming her Violet. So if you head over to my book Instagram, which is the same handle, it's at Heather's Book Review, you can see more pictures and just more kind of like what we're doing in the moment, like up to date things of myself and my family. I don't share a whole ton here on YouTube, but that is my exciting news. Her labor was painful, but it was also quick. So I'm grateful for that. And she is just a happy little gal, as you can see. So we are just so grateful that she is here and that she is happy and healthy. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about 10 books in this video. However, a disclaimer is 4 of the books are from January, but at the end of my pregnancy, and it was just a lot going on with the holidays, I never did film like a November, December video wrap up. So the other 6 books that I'm going to be talking about are from November and December. So I did not read 10 books in January. That would be crazy for me. But there are 10 books in this video. And something super exciting, I actually enjoyed most of these 10 books that I'm talking about. If you're new here and you're unfamiliar with my rating scale, I will pop it up right here. This is how I like to rate my books. Sometimes I do like a star rating too, especially if I'm like in between like a 4 or like a 5 star or something. But that top tier, the Go Get This Book Now, I do not say that lightly. Like if I give that rating, it's because I truthfully think that if you go rent this book from your library or if you purchase it, you're going to enjoy it. So I have quite a few books that I'm giving that rating in this video. And also, I think only one of the 10 books is getting a decent but flawed. Like everything else is a pretty decent rating. So that is exciting. A lot of exciting news. That exciting news. Our baby is here, exciting news. Just an exciting video. Okay, so we're gonna start. Well, actually, this isn't a review. I just wanted to show you my current read. I'm currently reading The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I have no idea. This is a historical fiction. As you can see, I got it from Book of the Month. And a lot of people are already saying that this is like a top book for them for 2024. So I feel like that's crazy. I mean, it's February. It's early February, and people are already saying that like they know that this is going to be on their top list. I do like to read a couple historical fiction like a year, especially, you know, because I mainly read mysteries and thrillers. So I like to spice it up with a different genre in between, because sometimes when I read back-to-back thrillers, they just all start to kind of feel the same. And then I can kind of get in like a reading slump. So far I am on page, let's see, 65. And I'm liking it. It's kind of like my pumping book. Like I try to like just not be on my phone the entire time that I'm like pumping. So it's, you know, it's a nice time for me to just sit down. It makes the pumping session go fast. And I try to just read this then. And it is pretty good so far. But yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. That'll be featured in my February reading wrap up. But the first book, oh my gosh, this was actually such a pleasant surprise. This is another Book of the Month book. If you're unfamiliar with Book of the Month, all of these books that you can see behind me with this square are from Book of the Month. For $15.99, you can choose one hardcover book that they're promoting for that month. And typically hardcovers retail anywhere from like 25 to 35 US dollars. So as you can see, this book was 27. And so you get them at a little bit of like a discount, but then also you can choose up to 4 other books for only $10.99 for each book. So for example, one time more recently, I got 5 books. So I used my $15.99 credit, and then all the 4 other hardcover books were only $10.99. So I love Book of the Month. I've been a member for years, hence all of these books behind me. So if you're interested, I will leave my referral link in the description box below. And if you go through me, I get a free book, which is sweet. Okay, this book was exciting because I have read quite a few books by this author duo, and that is The Wife Between Us, written by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This book has been sitting on my TBR shelf for a long time because I knew it was a thriller. I knew I've liked their books in the past that they co-wrote together. So I got it in one of the Book of the Month boxes, and it had just been sitting there for quite some time. So when I read it, I ended up really liking it. It's my favorite book from this author duo. It's just a really fast-paced thriller. And I felt like it was, I don't know, I just felt like it was like unique in the sense of like how the main protagonist was written, if that makes sense. I don't know. When I was reading it, it just like you really get immersed in the book, I feel. So on my rating scale, I am giving this a go get this book now because I read it and then I feel like I was done in like less than 48 hours. Like I was just hooked. It was really good. I didn't really see where a lot of it was going. So I really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed a lot of their books too. So it was nice that I have like a new favorite from them, because my old favorite, it's actually right up here, was The Golden Couple. Also a really good book, but this one has surpassed it because I remember with this book, it took me like anywhere from 80 to 100 pages to like get into it. And this book did not. I was hooked right away. This next book is exciting too because I actually featured it in my top 10 favorite books of 2023. I'll link that video up here if you've missed it or haven't seen it yet. And that is The Other Mothers by Katherine Faulkner. This is courtesy of Simon & Schuster Audio. Thank you so much, Simon & Schuster, for giving me the chance to listen to this amazing book that ended up making my top 10. It's easily like a 4.5 stars. It is so good on my rating scale. It's definitely go get this book now. This book is about, it's kind of like, I want to say like Desperate Housewives kind of like setting. Like it's all of these really well-off families, and the moms are like super cliquey, and then they all have nannies, and one of the nannies ends up getting murdered, and then that like the whole book centers around that nanny's murder and like who murdered her, who was involved, what the heck happened, is something going to happen to the current nanny who's replacing her. I thought it was really good. Again, I'm giving it a go get this book now because I felt like it was so fast paced and I was hooked. Typically, like that synopsis that I just gave you is not really something that I would like automatically gravitate towards, but I'm glad that I listened to it because it completely like surpassed any expectations that I had for it. So I really liked it. Next one is another book of the month. I got this in December. This was my December thriller choice, and that is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. Unfortunately, this is the book that on my rating scale is getting a decent but flawed, which is not like an amazing rating for me. I read this not even like 2 months ago, and I already like hardly remember it. It was very forgettable, unfortunately, and I don't know. I thought it had potential. Like I was enjoying it up until like halfway. And then I feel like it just kind of started, I don't know, going downhill from there. I felt like the ending was kind of like confusing and it didn't need to be, but I just feel like the way that it was written was confusing, and I don't know. It is a pretty quick read. It's like under 330. So I appreciated that because I did read it quickly, but it just wasn't anything that I would like remember, nor would I ever really recommend it to anyone. So unfortunately, that is a decent but flawed. The next book was an audiobook that I purchased, and that is The Housemaid's Secret, written by Frida McFadden. If you're not new here, you know I'm not the biggest Frida fan. I do have a review for The Housemaid, or whatever, the first one that is in this, I guess, series, because I know a third one is now coming out. I don't know if they're like all related, but whatever. Anyways, I'll link that up here for you if you're interested. But I did read this I listened to this second installment, and I actually liked it a lot more than the first one. The audio, the narrator kind of drove me nuts just because of like the accent that she was doing for our main protagonist. It was kind of hard for me to like get past that while I was listening, but that's just like a personal thing. That's a me thing. So just take that out of the equation. I'm just telling you how for me personally, it bugged me. But I felt like this story was more fast-paced, and I thought that it actually had quite a few twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, especially because I did not like the first book. So this was actually a pleasant surprise, and for my rating scale, I'm giving it an enjoyable read, because yeah, I had a pretty good experience with it. Definitely better than the first. And that leads me into my next audiobook by the same author, which is The Inmate. This book is my favorite of hers. Like, I actually really liked this book. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is this woman who is working in like a, I don't know if it's like if she's a nurse at a prison, or if she's like a nurse at like it's some sort of like where she deals with like patients who are dangerous. And then her past is kind of linked to one of the patients, I guess. And then like that's how the story kind of centers on like, how are they related? How do they know each other? What the heck happened? And I thought this one was really good. I thought it had a lot of twists and turns, and I felt like it was definitely the most enjoyable book of hers that I've read. And I think it's like my fourth or my fifth. So it's nice to have a favorite from her. All right, getting into physical books again. Holy smokes. Okay, this is one that I'm giving a star rating, which is a 3.75. And that is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. It's Fourth Wing sequel, if you're unfamiliar, if you're like, what the heck is that? A lot of like issues for me with this one. First off, I will say Fourth Wing was a 5-star for me. I loved it. I thought it was a great introduction to like a book series. I didn't think it was boring. I thought it had a lot of character development. This book, let me just show you, like, very small font, okay? So like the word count is outrageous. I actually heard that the word count is more than, oddly enough, a book that is sitting here in this pile. So I'm just going to show you. I heard that the word count for Iron Flame is more than the word count for House of Sky and Breath, which is a 850 something page book, okay? They look actually kind of like the same size here when I'm holding them up. But this is, let's just see. Let's just humor me. Okay, not 850, a little over 800. And then Iron Flame is a little over 620. Okay, so about 180 page difference, but there's more words in this book. And I felt that. Like, it felt so, like, just so much could have been taken out of this book. I feel like our two main characters just had the same repetitive argument the entire book, and I was so annoyed and just so over it. It just felt like they kept arguing and nothing was ever getting resolved. And I was like, how many times is Rebecca going to write about this argument? Like, can we progress? Can we move on from it? Overall, I thought it was a decent addition to the series, but it just felt super long. It felt like it was just being, dragged along, whatever. Wasn't a fave. I am giving it an enjoyable read still because I do enjoy this fantasy series for sure, but I just didn't like it nearly as much as I liked the first book. All right, Now we're getting into the books that I actually read in January. Those that I've been talking about have been November and December. The first book, surprise, surprise, was House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I love the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I don't love this series. I don't, but I heard that her worlds kind of all connect and that you would have to read this second book in the Crescent City series in order to like experience her worlds connecting. Meaning that like the A Court of Thorns and Roses characters that I'm in love with are like mentioned in this series. So I read it. It took me most of January because it's such a long book, but I wanted to read it in January because House of Flame and Shadow just came out on January 29th, I believe. So I haven't started this yet. It's another insanely long book, 835 pages. So even more pages than this one. But I'm excited because how this book ended up finishing, whatever, was such a cliffhanger. So I am excited to read this. I do think that this is going to be something that I pace out, simply because I don't know if she's planning on continuing the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. The fourth book, not counting the like novella or whatever that was in that series, came out when I was pregnant with my son, and he's over 2.5. So it's been like a minute since an installment in that series has come out. So I don't know like if she's planning on continuing it or if this is the way that she's continuing the series. I don't know, but I want to make this last because who knows how long we're going to have to wait until she either writes another one in this series, if she's even doing that, or if she's continuing the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. But I really liked this. This was an enjoyable read for me. I feel like I liked it more than Crescent City, the first one. So we'll see. I am excited for this though because I love my A Court of Thorns and Roses characters. I'm excited to see what their presence is in this series. Hopefully it's a big presence because it's the whole reason I'm even reading this series. Okay. Next book is The Damage, written by Caitlin Walrer. I know that's wrong. This is a book that I actually got for $8 at a book like resale shop in Chicago the last time that my husband and I were there, which was in 2022. Okay. What the heck? We didn't go at all last year because I was pregnant in May, and then the months leading up to that, we were in New Orleans twice. So typically we like to do like a city weekend once or twice a year. And then we always go to this book resale shop that's around where we like to stay when we go. But anyways, got it for a steal. And this is another book that was sitting on my TBR shelf for a long time. I knew it was going to be a good read because I remember people loving it when it first came out, which was, I'm just curious, 2021. So it's not even old. But yeah, it was really good. I personally am giving it an enjoyable read simply because it's a domestic thriller, which aren't typically my faves. But it's a book unlike any that I've ever read before. And yeah, if you don't know what it's about a guy who's in college and he ends up going to a bar with his friends where he's feeling kind of let down because the guy that he's been talking to is kind of like dragging him on, like leading him on a little bit. And then he ends up meeting somebody at the bar that they're at, and then it comes out that he claims that he has been raped. And the whole book centers on like him healing. So it's just really interesting because I feel like I haven't read a whole lot of books that are about rape from a male perspective. So, where the rape has happened to a male versus a female is what I mean by that. So I thought that this was really interesting. And yeah, it's a good thriller. It's not the typical thrillers that I usually read, but I did really enjoy it. Then the last physical book, I'm giving this a go get this book now. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This was my January book of the month pick. And this is a super fast-paced thriller about our main character who, she's kind of like a spy. Like she's not, like it's not, like the word spy is never mentioned in this book, but like that's how it kind of feels for me. Like she has all these different alias, like, I don't know, personas that she has worked with or under, I guess, most of her adult life. And I just find it so interesting. She works for this like mysterious person where he'll give her a little bit of an information about like a job that she's doing. And then her whole life is like that job for a little bit. This is really, honestly, a great thriller, and it's so fun, and it's short. It's like 330, which is the tip, like that is like my ideal thriller book length, okay? Super good, super fun, super fast paced. And then our little one is waking up, so I'm gonna speed talk through this last book. This last book is called The 5 Principles of Parenting by Eliza Pressman. Thank you so much, Simon & Schuster Audio, for letting me listen to this. This is everything that I look for in like a self-help or like self-reflection or like self-improvement book. It's a parenting book, but what I love about it is that it's like any stage of parenting that you're in, this book would apply to you. Like infancy, toddler, elementary age, teen, like it's such a well-rounded book, and I highly recommend it to any parent, or maybe if you are looking to become a parent. Like it's just such a great listen, and it's something that I know I will listen to again because of how helpful it's been. And just, it's, yeah, I mean, I cannot sing enough praises for this book. It has been absolutely amazing. So that is all of the books that I read in November, December, and then also now January. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and please leave in the comments what you've been reading, any 5-star books that you guys have, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.